So location affects your salary offer, and London is expensive, they would offer you more. Employers may consider where you stay as being expensive. Hello everybody, welcome. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ambc Ezen. So today I'll be talking about salaries. Does where you stay in the UK affect your salary? Does staying in London mean you're going to earn more, or does staying away from London mean you're going to earn more or less? And what exactly affects your salary? Is it your location? Is it your qualification? Is it your negotiation skills? You know how to negotiate your salary when you go through a job interview. Is that what affects your salary? I'll be talking about the different things that affect your salary, including location. So generally, does where you stay affect your location? I'm with my pen because I've been making notes and sort of just brainstorming from experiences and whatnot. Yes and no. Yes, because generally the farther away you are from London, the more you're able to negotiate. And no, because obviously your qualifications, how many years have you actually been in the job? What exactly do you have to offer to these people that they should offer you more than what they usually offer, no matter the area that you are at or the location you find yourself in? So if you're in London and they're offering you maybe 38,000 and you're like, no, that's not enough, why should they offer you more? Because that's the range they usually pay for those people working in London. Or if you say, okay, no, you don't want to stay in London, and you actually live in London and there's this job opportunity in maybe the Northwest or Birmingham, West Midlands, that pay is going to be about 45,000. If the company is really desperate, they will be willing to pay you more because you're moving away from where you are. And so in that regard, you can negotiate more and even ask for a relocation package, but I'll address that in another video. Salary rates in different cities differ for different cities. Not necessarily. Most people assume because you're in London and London is expensive, they would offer you more. Some companies, yes, that's the case. London is more expensive, and what exactly makes a city expensive is housing, is what you would spend for a taxi, or what you would spend on a bus, or the transportation, food, maybe food like restaurants, but generally across the chain. So like Asda, Tesco, Morrison's, Waitrose, you generally have the same cost for all these places, so that doesn't really affect. But the two major things that will affect is transportation as well as accommodation. London is seen as more expensive, but would companies actually consider that regarding salary? No and yes. No, because London, everyone wants to be in London. There are jobs in London, but obviously it's easier to fill spaces in London because most people want to stay around the city. Cities up north like Bradford, West Midlands, those places, in as much as there are people there, but most people don't really want to go towards the north, northwest, the Yorkshire area, because it's quite far, Lincolnshire and all those areas. But what tends to happen is those areas, those companies are willing to offer you more because those are the places people do not want to go and they desperately need to reach. And there's a market there. There's also a demand for pharmacists, example pharmacists, or whatever opportunity they have in those places. And because there are less people willing to go to those places, most companies are willing to pay more. So obviously that also adds to negotiation. When you see job openings and you're seeing London and you're seeing up north, Lincolnshire, less competitive areas. Yeah, I'll use Lincolnshire, Boston. I know most people don't realize that there's actually a Boston in the UK. Those are places, or Wiltshire, those are places that people, you can kind of negotiate your salary to above 50,000 and thereabout, and also add on some benefits to it like relocation packages, but I'll address that later. So what else affects your offer, your qualification? I'll be using pharmacy as my case study, of course. If you qualified just under a year, if you get a job in London, it's very less likely that you will be offered more based on the fact that London is expensive. They will look at the fact that you just newly qualified, and that's the range that they give, irrespective of the fact that you're working in London. And then also it depends on the pharmacy you are working, or what sector you are working. If you work in community, usually the starting is about 30-something thousand for newly qualified pharmacists, and if it's hospital, generally it starts with, I think, band 6 or band 5, I think band 6. And usually the pay when last I checked, about 20 something thousand. It might have increased, but gradually for hospital, as you go years and years and years of qualifying and going higher in bands, your salary is likely to increase to about 50,000 and above. Community pharmacy, the starting is 30 something thousand, but also it depends on the chain. Generally, independent pharmacies, so those pharmacies with not a vast chain of pharmacies, usually pay more. Most of them either pay up to 50,000, but not for newly qualified pharmacists. And so those independent pharmacies actually do pay more. They pay in the average of 45 to 50,000 thereabouts. But if you can negotiate your salary, you can get a little bit more, or an add-on to what you already have as salary, like some other benefits. What are the known pharmacy chains? Okay, most people, you know, Lloyd's Pharmacy, you know, Well Pharmacy, you know, Day Lewis Pharmacy, Boots Pharmacy, you know, Superdrug, Asda Pharmacy, and some other independent pharmacies which are sort of scattered around. Most times, like I said, independent pharmacies tend to pay more. I'm not really sure why that's the case, because you would expect larger chains of pharmacies to sort of pay the pharmacist more than independent chain pharmacies that are just starting out, but usually that's not the case. So location affects your salary offer, yes and no. So highest paid regions for pharmacy, I have my notes here. So Northwest, about 50,000. Northeast, about 44,000. West Midlands, 48,000. Southeast, 48,000. London, they said the average is 50,000, but I do not believe this. Generally, I think it depends on the amount of people that actually submitted their salary, or based on a very little average. But generally, pharmacist salary in the UK ranges between 30 something thousand to there about 50 something thousand, and if there's a stretch or a push, you can get to 60,000. Depends on the sector you're working at. So obviously this average doesn't just stick to community, it also covers your clinical pharmacy, it covers your hospital pharmacists, your prescribers as well, and it doesn't specify bands. So what I've just told you is just a mixture of everything all together. So that's everything I wanted to talk about today. So generally, where you stay, employers may consider where you stay as being expensive, or they might just offer you based on the general salary offer, so for experience wise, for qualification wise, or some of them might offer you an additional package apart from your salary to sort of help you to settle into that city if you're not from the city or do not have accommodation. But generally, I seem to find that is more on qualification as well as negotiating skills when it comes to your salary offer. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and comment. Until next time, my name is MBC Evan.